Welcome. Namaste. My name is Josh Kane. This is day 1,427,565 of the global quarantine. Still here, still doing it. It's a unique opportunity to find faith, to get reconnected to self, to others, to take time to learn, time to grow. Time to reflect on who we are, why we're here. Not necessarily can we do it better, but can we be more aligned with our deepest core values, our highest ideals? Using them as a reference, as something that we strive for, not something that we use to break ourselves down because we don't achieve the highest ideal all the time. We can't always achieve the highest ideal all the time, but we can reach for it, we can strive for it, and know that sometimes you fall short, and that's okay. Sometimes you exceed your own expectations, and that's okay too. It doesn't always have to be the same. In fact, variety is amazing. Variety demonstrates a dynamic, an ebb and flow to life, creates excitement, builds tension in a healthy way. I just hope that wherever you are today, whatever you're doing, you feel loved, you feel seen, you feel supported, and you're with the people that make you feel the most like yourself. You're in a place where you're stable, you're secure. You have all that you need. Right here, right inside you. A little bit of smile, maybe a lot. So allow yourself to feel uplifted. Know that sometimes it's hard. I don't know about you, but I welcome the challenge. start with Om Tat Sat, in honor of the beautiful discussion from yesterday. Om Tat Sat. 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 Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Oh man, that's a new melody and that feels really good. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Om. Hare Om. All right, let's get into the text. Just a little ways to go. Just a little ways to go. Chapter 18, the conclusion, perfection of renunciation. So going through the story of the Bhagavad Gita has been enriching for my own life and enlightening, to say the least, given that the time that we're now is a time of great conflict and great, because as a race, we are learning how to create a new habit, create a new paradigm. What is a paradigm? A paradigm is a standard. It's a framework. It's a structure that we all reality. And lately, for the past, it goes back a long time. The paradigm that we've been living in has been that the outside world is, and everything that we see is what's real. And anything that goes on inside of our heads, or anything that we feel inside of our hearts or in our bodies, is something that's not real, or it's less real. And the paradigm shift that's taking place, pardon my voice, I've been crying and singing and yelling a lot, so I'm a little bit like, I got like the prepubescent voice kind of going on here. Crack sometimes. But the paradigm shift that we're experiencing right now is going from the outside to the inside, starting to see that maybe the things on the outside are less real than what's actually going on the inside. And then we have to learn how to use the outside world and use the space around us to help draw us to the inside world, and learn how to respect the inner world, learn how to trust the inner world, learn how to trust guidance, trust intuition, and that this isn't just something for woo-woo-y spiritual people. It's not just something for sensitive people. This is something for people of all nations and all races, all creeds, all ages. If you're a human, then you are in two places at once. You're a spirit being, and you're a human being. And the spirit part of you is just as real and just as powerful, if not more powerful, than the human you. Because the human you is, in a way, it's set, it's materialized, it's fixed, it's growing, and it's on its cycle towards, through birth, through life, and then towards death. But the non-physical, spiritual, energetic part of you is eternal, and it lives, and it's connected to infinite possibility. So you might not be able to use your mind to create a drum or a computer or a microphone or a harmonium just by thinking about it and make it materially, but in your mind you can make almost anything, and you can create almost anything, and that makes the mind more powerful. That makes the spirit realm more powerful because it's connected to infinite intelligence and eternal wisdom. And as a race, as a species, we have been lost. We've been lost from this knowledge. And many civilizations in the past have had a deep understanding of this knowledge, the understanding of the inner and the outer, the upper and the lower, and how that dynamic contrast, there are threads between the contrast. There's connections between the two worlds of the outside and the inside. And they create revelation. It creates the soil and the space for the enlightening experience to take place, the enlightenment of coming to the knowledge that we are more than just what we have thought that we always were. So going through this book and learning about how a great warrior finds himself at a crossroads, a major crossroads in life, standing at the edge of a great battle, questioning his own faith, turning to God, asking God for advice and support, saying, I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure due to miserly weakness. Please help me. I am your disciple. I turn to you and I ask you, because I don't know, I need help. And in that lowering of oneself, when Arjuna puts himself at the feet of the master, he's demonstrating one of the principles of bhakti, which is to approach a spiritual master. He's also demonstrating one of the principles of being a human, which is that we lose our faith, we lose our way, we get lost, we get confused, we get scared. We end up having troubles. And it's only our human part of us that has the trouble. The spirit being in us doesn't know that trouble. It doesn't know that struggle. All it knows is the beauty and the joy and the ease of creation and the infinite support and the infinite loving continuum of this existence. And even though when we get lost in the modes of material nature, which is what this book also talks about, how when you are trying to find yourself and you're trying to discover what your purpose is, you're going to have options on what you look to in order to measure yourself. And in that process, if you start to measure yourself and gauge your happiness based on the temporary things in life, the things that come and go, then you're always going to find yourself fluctuating between happiness and sadness, good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, left, right. You're never really going to find contentment because you're going to be putting your faith into things that are not eternal. And what we're seeking here, what Arjuna was seeking, what Krishna teaches through this book, and what all the foundation of the spiritual science of yoga is all about, is coming to the eternal truth and the eternal essential nature of who we are. And being able to remember it, to embody it, to share it, and to trust in the process of our own evolution, that through this devotional service to God, to divinity, to our fellow humans, we are taking action of the highest order. To be of service to others is action of the highest order, because you're making a sacrifice. You're making a sacrifice of your own time, your own pleasure. And you're saying that you acknowledge that this is not just about me. I'm not the only one here, and I'm not the greatest. I'm not the one. Krishna, God, divinity, that is the essence of oneness. I am part of that. And because I'm part of that, this life was given to me as a gift. If I realize that, if I have come to accept and to place my faith in the eternal nature of divinity, I have, in a way, a responsibility to help uplift and educate others, show them, help enlighten them to the fact that they are part of something as well, and that they can be of service, that they have a purpose, that they have a mission, that they have a reason. So many people live in this life, they feel like they don't have a reason. They feel like they don't have a why. They don't understand what they're doing here. Why does it matter? Why are we alive? Why are we doing any of this stuff? If all we face is pandemics and death and disease and sickness and old age, why are we alive and why are we here? It's part of a great cycle of existence that, again, we learn about as we go through the Bhagavad Gita. It talks about how the cycle of birth and death is what fuels this universe. Cycles, patterns, order, and structure. Order and structure are what keep this universe together by the divine will of God. When we are thinking, when we're in our false ego, when we're seeking our own pleasure, things for our own benefit, we're living outside of that natural order of things. And we're living in ignorance. We're living in darkness, thinking that we're somehow alone and disconnected, and that the fact that the things that we do, the things that we say, and the things that we do, they don't affect other people. That they have that there's no cause and effect. But there is. Karma is real. Every action begets another equally opposite reaction. And you can call it karma, you can even call it consequence. It's not about punishment. It's just that's a consequence. And there's a consequence to our actions. A consequence of hard work is reward if you're doing the work in the right way. So consequences can be good, but what we have to remember is that we're trying to create as much transcendental action as possible. We're trying to be in right action, right mind, right thought, right state, right speech, right deed. So that what is created from the outcome is right. Because if we create wrong action, then we're going to create wrong outcomes, and we don't want that. Sometimes it happens, but if we're mindful and a wrong outcome shows up for us in the external world, it's a reminder. It's like the alarm clock going off saying, hey, guess what? This outcome that you don't want to see over here, this bad thing that happened, the car that you lost, relationship that you lost, things that fall apart, stuff that goes wrong in your life, you have to look at what thoughts were you thinking? What was your emotional state leading up to that? Because the internal world is really what is guiding that. And the trust that if something is coming up in the internal world and it manifests in the external, that you can become aware of it to a point where you're trying to say, okay, God's trying to teach me something. God is trying to show me something. This is uncomfortable, but I don't have to suffer over it. It's uncomfortable, but it's teaching me something, as opposed to what I wanted in life didn't work out, and I'm upset about it. And so I'm going to lash out at the world and try to make it. I'm going to blame everyone, or I'll victimize myself. And it's got to be somebody's fault. it's either my fault or somebody else's fault. And I'm going to use that negative experience as a reason to not trust, as a reason to disconnect even more. That's the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to look for the magic in every experience. Look for divinity in every single experience, good or bad, because divinity is at the root, is at the essence of every good and bad experience. And we have to have both sides. We have to, because that's the way that it is. If it was meant to be different, it would be. And maybe this whole shift in what we're going through will create something different, but I don't think so. I think that where we're at as a species in terms of our comprehension is where we're going to be. And this is, the evolution is just going to sort of do its thing. And the more we can seek to be transcendent, transcendentally mindful, transcendently conscious, the more we can grow our souls to stay connected to divinity, even in those times where we struggle, even in those times where it's so hard to keep our faith, where it's so hard to really trust. So in this last chapter, what we're learning is that renunciation, the final act in all of this, is to renounce, to let go of, to detach from the material world as the source of my understanding, the source of my the external world. No longer the material world. I don't trust that as the real anymore. That's what the renunciation is. And I'm not looking to the external world for my validation, for my ease, for my support anymore. It only comes from the spark of divinity within, my connection to my soul, which is connected to the super soul, which is then connected to Krishna, and Krishna connects all stems from and returns back to. You don't have to call it Krishna, you can call it divinity, you can call it God, you can call it, sacred source energy, whatever you want to call it. But that's essentially what the book is teaching. It's what a lot of books teach. A lot of scriptures, a lot of holy texts, a lot of religions are living based on this idea that divinity is everywhere and in everything. And the worship and the act of worship, the act of praise, the act of following religion keeps us mindful every single day of that. So we never forget. So we always stay on that path. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, especially if you weren't raised in a spiritual family. It takes a long time to reprogram, to unlearn. And in many ways, that's what we're doing right now. We're unlearning our processes. We're unlearning our collective habit of believing too much, relying too much on the external world. So, let's read on. Chapter 18. Let's start with verse 10. We read this a little bit yesterday, but we'll go back a bit and then we'll carry on. Those who do not hate any inauspicious work, so those who don't mind doing the mundane tasks, who are not attached to auspicious work, who don't only rely on doing holy, sacred things all the time, and who are situated in the mode of goodness, have no doubts about work. So when you're situated in the mode of goodness, you're situated in the transcendental Krishna consciousness. You know that there's work that needs to be done. Some of it's going to be auspicious, some of it's going to be inauspicious, but it's all connected to Krishna. It's all connected to divinity. And my job is to step back, but then step in. Step back from judging the work, step back from the results of the work, and just be in the work. Just be the servant. And then let Krishna handle all the outcomes and receive all of the benefit. They're just a reminder, I'm just a servant. I'm only here to serve him who sent me. Verse 11. It is not possible for an embodied soul to give up all activity. So we have to be at work. You have to do something. But those who renounce the results of activity are actually renounced. So we're not just renouncing the material world. We're renouncing all claims to things. And it doesn't mean that we can't have stuff. It just means that, like, all right, like I have this phone and I love this phone. This is a great phone and it serves me very well. But if I'm reliant on this phone to make me happy, then I am placing my faith in the phone as though the phone is the root of my happiness. It's not it. The phone is not what brings me happiness. Feeling connected through the phone is what brings me happiness. So it's not the phone, it's the feeling of connection. If the phone goes away and the phone breaks or the phone gets stolen, whatever, I don't want my happiness to be stolen or broken along with that phone. So I have to, in many ways, renounce the phone, renounce the value of the phone, renounce it, and remind myself that, no, I don't need a phone in order to be connected. I don't need a phone. I don't need the fancy phone to be happy. Yes, it's nice and it's a leisure and it's a gift to be able to have it. But if it's taken from me and I reduce myself because my possession of this phone has been reduced, I'm in wrong action and I'm trying to take credit for something that's not mine. I thought I had the phone. I never had the phone. If it left, no. All I wanted was connection. It's the same thing with everything. We don't want to place our faith in our possessions. We want to place our faith in divinity and in each other. One who does not give up the fruits of work achieves three kinds of results after death: auspicious, inauspicious, and mixed. So if you don't want to give up the results, you don't have to. That's fine. Some of the results of that will be good. Some of the results of that will be not so good. And then sometimes it'll be mixed. It'll be a mix of like good and bad. You never really know what you're going to get because it's going to be random. It's not going to be according to any plan. It's not going to be according to any system. However, those who are in the renounced order of life have no such results to suffer or enjoy. Almighty Armed One, according to Vedanta, there are 5 causes in the accomplishment of any kind of work. I shall now describe these to you. The place of action, the doer, the senses, the endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. These are the 5 factors of action. Let's listen to the purport on this. The instruments of our work are our senses. By those senses we act, or the soul acts in various ways, and for each and every action there is a different endeavor. But all one's activities depend on the supersoul, who is seated within the heart as a friend. Under these circumstances, those acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the supersoul situated within the heart naturally are not bound by any activity performed. Those in complete Krishna consciousness have no responsibility for their actions. Everything is dependent on the supreme will, the supersoul, the supreme personality of Godhead. So, saying that people have no responsibility for their actions when they're in Krishna consciousness, that can be a little bit confusing. Because it can imply being irresponsible. However, if you're completely immersed and absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then you're always seeking the qualities of the Absolute. You're always seeking the Supreme Person. So you're living a virtuous, moral, right lifestyle. So at that point, you're doing everything that you can to be the best person that you can be. You don't have to worry about being responsible for outcomes. You don't have to be so concerned with what happens on the external because you know that God's taking care of it. It's not just a reason to be irresponsible and to be rash and bold. It's not like that. It's that you are then becoming part of the great plan. The great will of God flows through you. Verse 15. So wait, but in 14, there's the place of action. So there's the environment where you are acting. There's the space that you are part of. Then there's the doer, which is the self, right? The body, the mind, the vessel, and the self behind that is actually witnessing. There's the senses that are interpreting the information. There's the endeavor, which is that which you are seeking to reach, that outcome that is being sought through the action. And then the super soul, which is, so I mixed this up. So there's the place where you're at. There's the doer, which is the mind, and that conversation between ego and, the back and forth of this is what's happening, right? The observer. And then there's the senses bringing the information, sending it back out, that which you're trying to do. And then the super soul is actually the connection of the soul, the witness, the silent witness behind the doer of the body and that which takes action, that is observing all of it and silently witnessing it. That's the 5 factors of action. Verse 15. Whether a person acts with their body, mind, or words, all actions, right or wrong, are constituted of these 5 elements. Therefore, one who thinks themselves only doer, the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. So that makes me think that the doer is also Krishna. That in the place of action, the senses and the endeavor that we're being strived for, and the super soul that observe all of that, have to understand that the only doer, it's not me that's the doer. I'm not the only doer. I'm not the only one that does things. Truly the only one that does things is Krishna. I am part of 5 factors that are related to Krishna's work being done through me or by me. Purport, this is cool. A foolish person cannot understand that the super soul, sitting as a friend within them, is conducting their actions. Although the material causes are the place, the worker, the endeavor, and the instruments, the final cause is the Supreme, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should see not only these 4 material causes, but the supreme efficient cause as well. One who does not see the Supreme thinks of himself as supreme. He is not intelligent. We say that again. One who does not see the Supreme thinks of themselves as supreme, which is false. It's wrong-mindedness. 17. One who is not conducted by false ego and whose intelligence is not entangled in the material realms, thinking that what is real is outside of me. Even though killing in this world is not killing, nor are they bound by actions. So how is that possible? Krishna explains it in the beginning. When you're seated in transcendental consciousness and you're doing your dharma, even if you're killing, you're not killing as a murderer. You're not killing because it's just your own will. You can't kill anything that you didn't create. Since Krishna created everything, he's the one that destroys. He's the one that gives life, and he's the one that takes it away. So if you're in the mode of Krishna consciousness and you're acting on behalf of Krishna consciousness, then even if something has to be killed, it's not being killed outside of religious principles. So it's different. It's kind of a hard one to understand, but the more you practice in this lifestyle, the more that you start to really learn what it means to surrender, what it means to surrender to the higher power, means that I truly have to let go of what I thought that I knew about life and death, what I thought I knew about the material world. Doesn't give you the right to just kill anyone or do anything. It's not like that. It's that there's an order, and birth and death are part of that order. So if you're killing in order, if you're doing it in the order of dharma, according to principle, it's different. That's kind of a controversial one, but sit with it. If you have questions, ask. The stimuli to action are three: knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. In the accomplishment of work, there are three factors: the senses, the work, and the doer. In terms of the modes of material nature, there are different kinds of knowledge, work, and workers, which you may now hear from me. So we're going to end a little early. We'll pick this up tomorrow. And then we're almost going to be done. Just a few more pages. And and then we're through, which is kind of sad. But we'll come back to this tomorrow. And thank you so much for joining today. Remind yourself to go inward today, to think about how you are connected to something that's greater than yourself, how you have a reason and a purpose in this life. And that reason and that purpose is not defined by your past. It is defined by how deeply you can search within your heart and listen to the voice of God, who's trying to guide you towards your highest truth. And start doing yoga, start practicing meditation if you haven't already, so that you can start building the courage and that spiritual muscle that helps you to endeavor towards seeking your highest truth and seeking your divine purpose in life, so that we can live as servants to one another, as kind, compassionate, loving friends to one another, as Krishna is a kind, compassionate, loving friend to us. Bring palms together in front of the heart, saying thank you to our bodies, thank you to this space, thank you to all of our teachers, and thank you to the divine spiritual science of yoga. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Thank you for letting me serve you. Aho. Namaste. Word up. Enjoy your day. See you soon.